with everyone introducing. Who's missing? Somebody's missing? Oh, Chey's not here. Okay, that's okay. We're going to let everybody introduce themselves. We'll start with my right and your left. If you'll stand up, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Marlon Coooper with Yolanda Cafe and Catering, and hopefully you guys got to try our cuisine and enjoy yourself.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Max Bozeman II. I'm the founder and owner of Greasy Spoon Soul Food Bistro here in Houston, Texas. And I am excited to be a part of this project here with Edison and Carter's. Welcome to the city. If you guys are here for the next 2 days, the closest location to you is about an hour away. But definitely
For now.
try it out.
For now.
Hi everybody, my name is Tyla Simone. I am the CEO of Sienna Wings and Sienna Sauce. If you guys want to get some sauce while you're here, it is an HEB. And if you want to get some wings, it's about 10 minutes from here, right now where you guys are. But thank you all for coming from your each individual cities and your travels, and we're excited to talk to you today.
Hi, I'm Kenzel Fallen, CEO and co-founder of Three Keys Coffee. Yes, the coffee that you've had today. So we have 2 locations in Houston. I believe you'll be near one of them because one is downtown Houston. So when you all head there, I was looking at the schedule, you might be able to check out one of our retail cafes. But we're also in 43 Trader Joe's. We're in all Houston area Whole Foods. And another fun fact, I have probably sold to all of these cities. People are surprised to hear that Three Keys Coffee, over 80% of our sales are actually outside of the city of Houston. We roast and package and ship. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about this project and happy to be here.
We are the Carey. This is my mom, Danita. I'm Jonathan. We are Carey's Frozen Delights. Y'all got to have some of our Italian ice. We have Italian ice and gelato. We have our storefront location over in Missouri City, not too far from here. And yeah, we're also happy to be a part of this project as well.
My legacy. Yes. And this is just some of the business partners on the tour. We talked about the marketplace that will have coffee, books, apparel, flower shop, all the above. And then we have our food court that will have multiple businesses and food restaurants as well. And so I do have a couple of questions, and I'm just going to randomly ask, okay? I'm going to start with Max Bozeman, Greasy Spoon. Max, can you share with us what inspired you to locate your business at the Edison Cultural Center?
You and your husband.
Okay, all right, tell us what that inspiration.
Now that's an honest answer.
Yeah.
All right, and I can stop right there, but to
just
expound on it, where I could pretty much go to any area in the city and surrounding areas and open up and do very well. It was the Carter's vision that made me decide to make this the next location and to make this the flagship location. I heard y'all talk about vision a lot when I was standing over, but where there is no vision, people perish. And I'm not a person that is, I'm 42 years old now, and I've been owning businesses since I was 19. And I've learned that to have a purpose beyond profit. That's what true success is to me. And when I look at the Edison Arts Center, I see purpose, and I want to be a part of purpose. And so they did a very good job of selling that purpose to me, and so that's why I'm there.
Thank you, Max. I'd like to ask Ms. Danita that same question. What inspired you to locate your business here at the Edison Cultural Center?
So I'm all about people and families, and
bringing communities together. That's why we chose to be in the Missouri City area. It's a community, it's a family, it's not a high traffic area, but it was all about bringing community together. And what this is, and being here, is also about bringing family, community, purpose, all cultures, bringing us up together as a family. So we're happy to be here, and it's all about family. And I call this it's Black Excellence. And Black Excellence is what I always tell charity. And I feel like this is gonna be the Galleria for us. You know, people travel to the Galleria. This is the Galleria right here. So I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thank you. We received that. We received that. Many people have said that, initially when we put the lofts, this looks like it could be in the Galleria. And one day if you come back, we'll give you a tour. Next question I'd like to ask Ms. Tyla Simone. What do you believe being here at the Edison Cultural Arts Center is going to do for your business? What do you believe being here is going to do for your business?
Yes. I think that, like I was saying, there's a lot of places we could go in the city and put our business, but I felt like, we've been talking about this for 3 years, almost before I even opened up the location. This was actually where I wanted our first location to be, and it was really from, Charity just explaining to me her vision and seeing it through her eyes before it was even built out, before the second addition that we've added all the way on the far side was even there. All of that, and knowing the purpose that was behind this and the passion that was behind this, it reminded me of why I started just wanting to bring happiness to other people through food, and specifically being able to do that here with my community, in a community that needs something like this, not too far from the community I already serve in Siena, because like I said, this is 10 minutes down the road for us. It's something special. And my mom, she grew up in the arts. She grew up in New York, and that kind of led her to a path of finding her way out of staying out of trouble and things like that. So me and my partner both have a strong connection to the arts. I make music. So being a part of this project was more than just about opening up a restaurant anywhere. I'm most excited, not even for my own place, but just being around other successful Black entrepreneurs every day, us growing together, us building off of each other. I say all the time, I feel like the most successful thing about this project is gonna be we're gonna share customers. We're not in competition with each other, we're in community with each other. So people are not gonna wanna eat wings every day. Some nights they want to get dressed up, they want to go across the street, they can do that. They can do that. If they want to go upstairs and have a drink with Danita, they can do that. And I think that's what's going to make it so special, is that we're really going to cultivate something that's uniquely to this area, but also it's going to be so inviting that when people come into town, it's going to become a destination where people are like, oh, when I come to Texas, gotta go to the Edison Center. And that's something I wanted to be a part of, something that was bigger than just a restaurant, but it was also something for the community, and it was something for our people.
Sherry, I want to interrupt though. I want you to tell them about your experience on Shark Tank.
So when I was on Shark Tank, that was in 2021. So I filmed it in 2020 when I was 16, and then in the process of it airing in 2021, I turned 17. I went on the show, I pitched, and basically I got a deal on the show, but afterwards the shark never reached out. So we ended up not getting the funds, not getting the deal, nothing like that. But that wasn't going to stop us, because we already knew what we wanted and our vision. And that was a hard time for me, because it's you reach this climax of something you've always dreamed of accomplishing, but then it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And I feel like I've hit multiple of those things in my life, and that's why when I was asked the other day about expanding and moving our new restaurant here to the Edison Center, and she's like, what's the biggest challenge you think you're going to have? And I told her, I don't think it's going to be a challenge. And that was the first time I felt in my life where I can walk into something and feel confident and not feel like it's going to be a burden or be a challenge. I know everything comes with challenges, but to not immediately think, challenges are going to present themselves is a barrier and a weight lifted off that most people who know about restaurant industry cannot say that if they're trying to find a new location. So I would say that was my experience.
Thank you for asking her that. We have some more questions, I'm gonna get to them, but there's two things that stood out. One, when I heard her, Tim said early, this morning, I think I heard him say, remembering your why. Somebody said, no. Where's our president? What happened to, ED, our ED? He said, ED, he said, remember your why. Remember your why. And then the other thing is, when we think about what we have to provide, experience is an excellent teacher, because as a small business owner, having to rent from a landlord, we understand what we need. And there are things that we have to expend that don't belong to us and that belongs to the center. And I said, I don't want that. I said, I don't want Max, I don't want our team to have to do some of the traditional things. I'll do the legwork, okay? Let's white box them. We're gonna provide our own AC, we're gonna provide our own hood vents. They can't take it with them, and they better not try, okay? All right? So at the end of the day, those are some things that we have to work. So when I think about her saying, of course there's gonna be challenges, but if we work like community, the need is met. And that is what I wanna share and leave with you. So I'm gonna ask Ms. Kenzel that same question. Why do you believe that being here at the Edison Cultural Arts Center, what do you believe being here at the Edison Cultural Arts Center will do for your business?
So I think first my instinct reaction is it allows us to wholly be who we intended to be when we created our company. This was such alignment for what our specific brand is, being that it's centered around music and the arts. When we heard about the concept and knew like all this whole space and that there would be a jazz club, I'm like, it almost felt unreal that how could there be, this is a perfect type of alignment for our brand and our community. And so that's the first thing, is just that alignment and allowing us to really connect more with our brand and who we are. The second part of this though, because prior to being in coffee, I was in banking. I was SVP of Enterprise Risk for First Horizon Bank. So everything's got to make, dollars and cents for me. That part. And so even, logistically from the location, Missouri City is not very servant in terms of specialty coffee. You don't have, I think there's maybe one other location. So, being able to implant something in a community where there's a need, financially speaking, that allows me to have, greater demand, or, greater demand if I'm creating that supply here. And then, it also kind of de-risks by being in this ecosystem with others. Like I said, I have such a large base outside of Houston. When folks come into Houston, they're looking for Three Keys. They want to make that stop to us. So they come to Three Keys, well then they're gonna find out about all these other places. And then when all of their super fans go to their other places, then they're gonna come and find out about Three Keys. And so that for me meant that I could just continue to compound on what we've already built by being a part of this project.
I want to add to that too, because when we first, I'm a spiritual person, y'all. So everything I do, I just think about the alignment, and we've heard that already, where I reached out to Three Keys, and then we reached out to Kindred, and we wanted this marriage, but they had already been praying and talking about that same marriage, before. And it was just a perfect opportunity to get our own kind of Barnes & Noble experience with coffee and books together.
Oh, absolutely. And if I could just quickly touch on that, because yes, it was something that I had explored with the owner of Kindred Stories. Her name is Carey, and she realized that kind of coming out to this Missouri City area, it might be a little bit too far. She might not have the team support, but then we were able to come up with a creative solution in which we'll have a curated collection of books from her store that she will have a part in. So it's a way for us to collaborate and have that dual presence without her feeling the burden of having to handle the operations part of it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way, again, having this whole ecosystem of us all supporting each other, it just helps us to, exponentially expand.
I know y'all have some questions. Write them down.
Okay.
Write them down, because I do want to get to Marlon. Marlon caters all over Greater Houston, and he has experience, and his staffing is all over Greater Houston. I mean, we call him at who are you here with? But I want to ask you specifically, Marlon, what advice would you give these council presidents and mayor pro tems in the room about creating an environment where businesses like yours and entrepreneurs like you are willing to invest in communities like this?
Man.
Think you got that right?
What is it gonna, what does it take? And what do you need?
I think you have to have someone who is connected to the community and is respected. And so, you know, I lived in the DMV, I lived in New York, and there was always somebody that was in the community that was well known, respected. You know, there's some chefs I could name right now. One of them specifically was here in Houston for a little while, and he went back to Maryland, and now he has a big restaurant there, and he had several before. And I say that to say he's well respected, and so when he speaks, people listen to him. And so those are the people you want to go to and have conversations with, and then listen to what they say, and then look for those guys who are maybe not at that level and that are coming up, because they're going through a little different. He already went through that, and so now he can kind of give you his perspective on how he went through it, and then those folks that are coming up, they'll be able to give you their experience and say, hey, you know what, this is what I'm going through, and this is what I could use, this is the help. You know, everyone needs some type of financial backing to support their vision. And so the question is, what are you willing to give up to get that financial backing? And so people who really believe in their vision, they're willing to give up, you know, something anyway, time, you know, whatever. Did I answer your question? Does that help?
I also have something to add too. I would also say, like, you have to find a group of businesses that are willing to buy in. And I'm not saying financially, but everybody on the panel has talked about community and talked about working together and supporting each other's businesses. So it's not just, hey, we want you to come or we want this person to come. It's like, if you're coming, you're going to be a part of the ecosystem. You're going to be a part of the family. The expectation is for you to help your brother and your sisters that businesses are going to be right next to each other. So making sure that you're inviting people that have the right mindset about community, because if you get a bunch of people that are all in it for themselves, your project's just going to be like every other strip that's, you know, in any other city. So.
And to piggyback on what she just said, which was awesome, for example, the builder for this, Phil, I know Phil outside of this, okay? So the relationships that I've accumulated and built over time allows me to have relationships with people that I don't even know what they're doing, with people that I don't know what they're doing, and so then we all get together and it's like, oh yeah, well, we're working on that together, really? So now I can come in and provide whatever our service or I have to be part of that ecosystem. So you definitely want it to be, like she said, a family, because once everybody buys in, there's no way else to go but up.
And one of the other unique things, I'm sorry, who's about to say?
Kenzel.
Go ahead,
Go ahead. I was just gonna add one, but has permitting and regulatory stuff come up yet?
Yeah, that's what they're here.
That's
They're
what they
here.
wanna hear.
Because I
Yes.
want, having a regulatory friendly environment for
Yes.
businesses to be able to operate. I want to speak to, because the city of Houston, so coffee as a business is considered a food
Don't throw
establishment.
shade on us.
This is a family conversation.
It is. Absolutely. I'm just talking about the differences.
That's how we get better.
No, I'm just talking about the differences and some of the, and why this actually was an appealing project because of some of these things, right?
Absolutely.
So there are certain minimums such as like a grease trap and things, right? We're considered a food establishment. We don't create any grease, but there's still that city minimum which we have to abide by, right? But when you have a place where we all are sharing the same one, but then, you know, take alternatively, for example, in Atlanta, I know some folks who have a coffee place there. They were considered regulated by like the USDA or something. Somehow they were able to get their shop open so like super quick, and not saying that it was a challenge in the city of Houston.
That's anomaly.
But I say it because whether it it's grease trap for Houston, but it could be something else in each one of your jurisdictions. I imagine there is something that might be kind of prohibiting more business growth, and I really just encourage you all to have some sort of forum to be able to listen to what those things are, because sometimes I had to kind of escalate some things through city council, and thankfully they were able to help, be an advocate for us in some situations. But I think about other business owners who did not have those relationships and weren't able to kind of push forward things like that. So,
And that's a great example of the people closest to the problems a lot of times have the solutions.
Correct.
And so as elected leaders, we have to be very intentional about listening and hearing what your concerns are. And I tell people all the time, you need to know who represents you, because when you run into a problem, you know who to call.
Exactly.
And you know who to call and to get it done.
I want to add to that real quickly. I remember the conversation about the grease traps, and she was surprised to know that our design included the grease traps for every building we have, so that they, as restaurants, don't have to bear the burden themselves. They share that burden.
That's the difference between you opening and not opening.
It could be the difference. It could be the difference.
It is the difference.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that we cut some of that burden or excuses for not being able to come by for these restaurants. So that's one of the things. We have over 2,500 gallons of grease traps on this property.
Wow.
So if we put grease in the sanitation line, there's a problem somewhere else. It ain't from us.
But we want to open it up to questions. I know Mayor Pro Tem James has a question, but you heard Will. Where there's a will, there's a way, and we need your support with that will. We need to be able to make a call, and we need to be able to say, this is what we have, how can you help? Mayor Pro Tem James Mitchell?
The Three Coffee, where did the vision concept come from to incorporate music with the QR code?
Oh, happy to share. So my husband is an alum of Florida A&M and played in the Marching 100. He played the trumpet, and so the name Three Keys comes from the valves of the trumpet. We named it after that. Music was also very much a part of our early kind of courtship. We were long distance. I'm from Cincinnati. My husband's from Atlanta. I was living in Philly. He was living in Houston, and so we would share music with each other over the phone. And so it was such a core part of us that then when we later decided to have this coffee company, right? You didn't know you were getting the love story. When we created the coffee company, we just wanted to integrate, music and have it be like a fun way to explore tasting coffee through sounds and exploring the senses. So.
No, fantastic. Thank you. And my comment to the Mayor Pro Tem, because all of us try to have success stories like this, but her passion coming over here, we're on the bus, just pride and joy. So, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any questions? Any other questions?
So not so much about the facility here. Beautiful, wonderful. Can't wait to take it back home. Conceptual and everything. But I know you mentioned earlier that this neighborhood was a bit affluent. But we saw the pictures of the Kroger that shut down. Right? Kroger usually don't. You leave strong neighborhoods. What happened with the transition?
To give you a little bit of the history, this neighborhood dead ended. This road right here actually stopped. There was no through traffic. So what happened is when the big box concept was coming through, they needed more traffic. Kroger was looking at how do we expand. They actually had plans to expand to this side this building right here was empty, never built out. They had an idea to do it, but because there was not enough traffic being generated, they decided that, you know what, we have a lot of shrinkage, let's go. And I shared this with Tim, that the unique thing about this property is that Kroger had a 8-year lease on this property. They pulled out in their 5th year. And the owner was not motivated to find anybody to replace those dollars because he was still getting paid. And by the time he was ready to find someone, the economy had flipped on him. So then who was getting in, who's gonna buy a big box, right? Or rent a big box. So it created a cascading effect when the Kroger closed, because then all the other auxiliary businesses closed as well. So then the Chey and Blight took over. In those situations, yeah, the belt, and then when the Beltway came in, it separated us from Houston.
Yeah.
And then they built the Fort Bend Toll Road, which separated us from Fort Bend. So now they're just sitting in the middle of what's happening. So what's happening? So what happened is that the community then felt like they were just this neglected group of people, and then, you know, flight. Even those affluent people moved further to more affluent areas. And then one thing we found out was that the median income here is not that low, far below poverty. Only reason why is because they were looking at the homeowner's income, which was based on retirement dollars. But the homeowners didn't live in their homes that they had here. Because what was proven was that 91% of the students that were in the school were on free to reduce lunch.
Yeah.
So that means they were leasing, they were renting. So those so that income level was skewed. So you couldn't get, one of the reasons why we were able to qualify for the loss, and if you know anything about 9% tax credit, when they look at your census tract, you have to be above 20% poverty to get one of these units in, or even be able to compete for the numbers. This census tract actually was above 20%, below 20%. The census tract right next door to us is above 20%. So if I would have went one block over, I wouldn't be able to build a loss. But because we were in this census tract, closer to Missouri City, where the median income is actually $120,000 a year, guess what? We were able to put the loss because it was considered a beneficial to the community, to people coming in. So all of those things play a big part in redevelopment for your communities. I probably know too much of that stuff.
And now we sit in the opportunity zone as well.
And we sit in the opportunity zone, but when they first did the opportunity zone is right across the street. Right across the street. And then when we first came out here also, Councilmember, I don't know if you remember, Larry was fighting to get this property put into the turrets. Because it wasn't, when they originally created the tax increment zone, this major commercial property was not in that zone. Can you believe that? And I can tell you that was political. That had nothing to do with the value of this property. Because why wouldn't this large 12.5 acre retail not be in a turd zone when it was drawn up for the community? Well, there had to be a reason. And I want to say it's political, and I know it was. And then when Larry came in, he was fighting to get this put in the turds. And finally we got it done. And the turds contributed, and you tell them we got funding from the turds. Yeah, we've got money from our tax increment zone dollars as well. Thanks to
over $2 million.
Thanks to the council. So all those things played a part in making this dream come true. And I want to add one more thing before we leave about these wonderful people. Charity was very intentional about whom, what, and how, okay? But to their credit, they know, we told them all, hey, we're gonna do a merchant association. And they all said, wow, that's great. I said, because in these communities, you have a lot of people going, hey, can you put your advertising in my banner, in my church homecoming? Or our merchant association is gonna be twofold, to help with marketing, but also our merchant association is gonna adopt a school every year and meet the need of any one of these local schools, because a lot of them don't have active PTOs. So what's great about these people is that they're willing to give back to the community instantly. None of them said, no, I don't want to be a part of that. And that to me said a lot about their business acumen. That they saw that giving back means as much as receiving from the community.
Also have coffee in there, because statistically speaking, for neighborhoods, when they are spurring economic growth, one of the single identifying reasons for that is the presence of a specialty coffee shop in that neighborhood. So if you have a neighborhood that you want to transform, probably figure out how to get a coffee shop there.
Thank you, Troy and Charity.